Hey CP, it's Jeannie here. Today I am joined by New York Times bestselling author Jerry Jenkins. He has written more than 200 books, a very popular series that we all know about. Not the one we're going to talk about right now, but the Left Behind series, which I think so many Christians hold dear and we're grateful for. But now he has been writing for another incredible series, The Chosen. And we are here to talk today about a new installment to his writing, The Chosen, and I Will Give You Rest. It's the third installment of his writing to the third season of the series. Thank you so much, Mr. Jenkins, for joining me.
Thank you, Jeannie. Great to be with you.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the writing of this. The third season was very emotional. It was very gripping of the series. What went into kind of your process, your thought process, the heart behind writing to this?
Well, this is a very different style of writing for me and for anybody who tries to novelize something that's on the screen. So often, what's on the screen comes from a book, and in this case, of course, my son Dallas created this TV series that's based on the Bible, but he and his co-writers then use a lot of plausible imagination to talk about potential stories that might have led up to the things we see in Scripture. When they get to Scripture, the miracles and the sermons, they try to depict those exactly the way they appear in the Bible, and yet they create characters and dialogue of scenes that might have led up to those, and they have to be realistic and do justice to the story from the Bible. Then I come along and write a novel based on that TV show, and so each novel in this series is based on one of the seasons in The Chosen. And I get to add even more plausible backstories and inner monologue and character motivations. And I'm getting wonderful response from readers who are saying, some who said they've never seen the series, but the novels seem to stand alone. They can enjoy them by themselves. But others who have seen the series, which is most people in the world, um, they say that there were things that went by so fast on screen that they caught the message, but they kind of missed the details. And so in reading the novels, they understand what's going on there. And so it's been really gratifying to hear from readers.
Oh, that's awesome. It's exciting to be able to have your imagination run, but also keep it true to scripture while you're playing, if you will. Talk about that. I know some people misunderstand that. Many times I find myself trying to explain to people exactly what you said. The chosen, they keep the factual things factual, but they're adding to the story, so to what leads up to it. Talk to that, like just being able to do that. And maybe for those that misunderstand it, what can you share a little bit of your heart with us on that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that Dallas does is he kind of enjoys the criticism, and
Yes.
it doesn't bother him. But he'll put some of the criticism online. Somebody will write in and say this isn't found in the Bible, and so it's heresy or it's blasphemy. And I think he knows he's kind of playing there. He knows that the vast majority of people who watch these have been thrilled with how they feel like they get to know Jesus better and love Jesus more, and really get to understand the disciples and the people that were surrounding Jesus, the ones he chose. And I think there's a great call for this kind of literary license. Anyone who is a student of the Bible knows what's biblical and what is just imagined. And I think they can see that the writers of The Chosen do this with great loyalty to the Scripture and great devotion to the Scripture. And their goal is not to replace Scripture. Dallas says this all the time.
Yeah.
The Chosen is not a substitute for the Bible. It's to lead you back to the Bible and get you more interested and have it come alive for you, so that you're checking out what's there. And again, these stories are plausible. We don't have Jesus riding a rocket ship or going to some other continent that he wouldn't have traveled to.
Right.
or doing crazy things that would violate the meaning of Scripture. Some people are concerned about the verse that talks about, it's an anathema to add to or take away from the meaning of the
Yeah.
Bible. Well, the difference here is this is not taking away from the gospel. The gospel message is clear as it can be. It's an evangelical view, and it's really orthodox. And
Yeah.
and again, when we get to the miracles or the sermons, they're just about exactly the way you'd see them in Scripture. And so, like in book three, in novel three, Simon Peter and his wife. Now we know he had a wife because Scripture says that his mother-in-law fell ill and Jesus healed her. So we know he was married. That's all we know. We don't know her name. We don't know their situation and how they got along and that type of thing. And so Dallas and his co-writers, and I get the fun of this doing it at the end with the novels too, get to imagine what that relationship might have been like. And again, we make it plausible. We use manners and customs from the first century, and the same kind of foods and dress and footwear and the dirt and the dust and the weather, that type of thing, so that readers can say, yeah, this could have happened this way. We're not saying it's biblical or that it's exactly this way, but they had a relationship. When I used to read the New Testament, I mean, I grew up in the church as many people have. I sort of saw the disciples as all kind of the same person. I mean, some of them had little personalities, like Simon was outgoing, and John and James were the sons of thunder. But beyond that, they all seemed to run together, and they seemed like stained glass window figures or statues. And I pictured them all as old men with big gray beards, and they're marching everywhere and speaking in King James English. And this series has shown
Mhm.
that these were young guys. They were regular, everyday people, fishermen, tax collector, people like that. They squabbled, they teased each other, they had fun. Jesus in this series is also, besides being fully God, which we often see on screen. When you watch a movie or a TV show about Jesus, the God person comes out, and he's very ethereal and above it all. But Dallas says he's also fully man. What does that mean? Does he have a sense of humor? Does he tease his friends? Do they play and get along? And do they argue? And he has to fix that. So I think people are finding that these characters are very accessible. And now, as we read the Scripture, we kind of picture these characters in our minds that we see on the screen or in the book, and it makes them come
Yeah.
alive for us.
It really does. It's you both do an amazing job at helping us kind of relate. Let not kind of actually relate. When last season of The Chosen, the loss of a child and walking through the grief of that, I had experienced that myself, and
Mm.
it was hard to watch. But it was so real. It was so powerful. The anger that you experience with God, and I love the end, the climax where Peter is, holding on to Jesus because he realized after all his anger and all his rage that that's kind of what he needed. He just needed God to hold him. Talk about that. What are you tapping into, Jerry? So I know your son, that's he kind of comes up with the premise, and we get to see it on screen. But as you're diving deeper into the human experience in relation to God, I mean, you are one man with a family, you have your own personal experience, but what this is making you guys do as creatives is kind of see different experiences or imagine different experiences with different people. What are you tapping into to kind of touch, because you're pulling on the heartstrings of us all, right? Maybe that scene ministers to me, another scene will minister to somebody else or somebody else, but there is definitely a God breathed thing on all of the imagining that's also happening. What are you tapping into to kind of unpack these characters for us?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is relatability. We want to be able to see ourselves in these characters and not think, well, these guys became the apostles of the church, so they would never do anything wrong or say anything wrong or be selfish or be petty. But they're real people. For me to identify
Right.
with them, they need to be that way and have those flaws. And
Mhm.
so I think that's really the key. Um, I have not experienced the loss of a child in my immediate family. I've lost people close to me. And I know the feeling of wondering why does God heal some people? In fact, in the New Testament, raise some
Yeah.
from the dead, and yet others he allows to suffer. And
Yeah.
in the stories, I think this is relatable, and people realize this is what's happening today. And if everything worked out perfectly and Jesus just healed everybody and every sinner came to faith, we'd say, well, that's not realistic. That's not what happens today. What is Jesus trying to do here? What is God's intent? And so I find that readers love to be entertained and they love to be educated, but they never forget when they're emotionally moved. And so my goal is always to reach for the heart and to find the emotional center of those scenes.
Yeah.
And of all people, it was the poet Robert Frost who said, "If there are no tears in the writer, there'll be no tears in the reader." Well, believe
Mm.
me, there are tears in the writer. When I'm writing these and I'm watching the scenes that everybody else is seeing, I never get tired of one scene, and they all move me emotionally. You're talking about that scene of Eden and Simon Peter um, being angry over the loss of their child and the fact that it seems Jesus did nothing there. And in the end, he just pleads with Jesus to not let him go. We can all identify with that. For me, one of my favorite scenes in the whole series is the last one in season one, where Jesus calls Mary Magdalene by name and
Oh
says, "You are
yeah.
mine. I've called you by name." That is so heart wrenching to me, so deep. And other people have their favorites too. So it's really been rewarding and gratifying to be involved in this project.
Mm. Well, thank you for it. It's a gift to us all, really. And it really is helping us come to the feet of Jesus for ourselves. I always push back when people say crazy things about it. I'm like, listen, what it does is it gives us all an appetite to pursue God for ourselves. And it's beautiful. I talked to Dallas several times, but I talked to him recently about just everything that's going on in the world, and he had said to me that, the Jewish community, they're shocked at how Jewish the series is,
Yeah.
and that's because they probably don't understand how much we know Jesus is our Jewish Messiah. Times are crazy in the world. It's really hard. There's some really harsh realities happening. You, as the author of Left Behind, you, as someone who's writing about a series that's, first century Christianity, Orthodox Jewish faith, where do you think we are in the timeline of it all?
It's clear we're heading for something, and it seems sooner than ever now. The
Yeah.
prophecies do say that Israel will be attacked from all sides, which seems like that's happening now. And then it says that the great bear of the north and the great army from the east will also attack. And so Dr. LaHaye, who's now been gone for 7 years, he believes that the bear was Russia and the army from the east is China. And I think there's some real evidence for that. And so that we need to really keep an eye on that. Now, nobody knows the day or the hour, not even the Son of Man. He said he didn't know. And so it's sort of folly for us to try to predict the day or the hour.
Yeah.
But also, I think all the prophecies have been fulfilled that need to be before the rapture. So it could be today. Now, that should be an urgent call for us to keep making sure that people aren't left behind and telling them the truth. But also, in God's economy of time, scripture says a day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as a day to God. So if he waits one more day in his economy of time, in his mercy, that could be 1,000 more of our years. So we would have
Yeah.
a lot of time to get people ready. But that's the line we walk. It could be today, it could be way past our lifetimes, but we need to be ready.
Mm. Your family has done a great job at helping us all get ourselves to the place where we're ready. What do you think as believers we should be doing as well as getting ready? You all are creating content. I said this to Dallas the last time we talked. I said, I would always think about the scripture that the gospel would get reached to the ends of the earth. And I'm like, how's that gonna happen? How is that possible? Maybe 10 years ago I thought that. Now seeing just a series like The Chosen being able to reach the ends of the earth, all different languages, all different the way it's being received, I'm like, oh, that's what he meant. Like, God is going to use all of this media, creativity, everything that we have to reach people. What would you advise as someone who has created so much content to help us get ready? What would you advise us all to be doing as well as getting
Well,
ready?
you're right. It's the modern technology that has changed our view of Scripture. It used to be, as you say, 10 years ago or so. I think we thought that idea of the gospel reaching all the entire world was symbolic somehow. And how is this
Yeah.
going to happen? It has to be miraculous. And now, with satellite television, with the internet, we don't often mention the TV show Baywatch in the same sentence as The Chosen, but Baywatch holds the record for the most translated show in history because it's in, I think, 60 languages. Even Left Behind was in 38 or 40, but Baywatch, 60 languages. The Chosen is on pace to be translated into 600 languages, and it's already in every country in the world. And so what we need to do is to make sure that message is getting out, and we need to be urgent in our plea with people to be ready. Not everyone will agree, not everyone will get saved, not everyone will, come to faith, but it's our job to let our light shine before men that they may see our good works and glorify our Father who's in heaven. And that's become my life verse. I think it needs to be the life verse of many believers. Be urgent and keep sharing the message.
Awesome. We have about a couple minutes left. When I look at the title, The Chosen and I Will Give You Rest. What's the message there for us?
I think there are two messages there. One is the idea of Sabbath rest. I think the church has sort of not done a great job with Sabbath rest over the years. Our local church here in Colorado Springs is going through a time of Sabbath now. Our pastors have said, we're going to have some weeks, every 7 weeks, we're going to take the staff is going to take time off and not do the normal things, the midweek meetings and things like that,
Okay.
and take at least a day a week and really rest. That's hard for those of us who are type A personalities or overachievers. We always feel like we need
Yeah.
to be busy and doing something. But even Jesus took time to rest and pray. God even took time to rest during the creation of the world. And so, who are we to think we can do better than that?
Yeah.
And I find when I force myself to take that time and rest, it rejuvenates me and really inspires me for the other 6 days of the week. The other rest, I think, is emotional rest and spiritual rest, like Peter got when he,
Yeah.
tried to walk on water, lost his faith there for a second, was drowning, and Jesus saved him, and that became an entire metaphor for him to say, "Don't let me go, don't let me go." That's the rest we need in Jesus.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Jenkins. You are just so wonderful at helping us draw closer to God, and I really appreciate that. Your life work, it's amazing how you had said this, I think, to me the last time. For many years we knew of you and the work that you did, the contribution, and now it's just passed on to your son, and then you guys collaborating in this way. It's really beautiful, and I pray that more families can follow suit.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, the joke in our family is that Dallas used to be known as Jerry Jenkins' son, and now I'm known as Dallas Jenkins' father. And may it ever be so. I couldn't be happier, couldn't be prouder. People ask us every day of how proud we are of Dallas, and we love to say we're as proud of who he is as
Mm,
we are of what he's done. And
yeah,
it's been amazing that phenomenons like this hit the
yeah,
same family all within about a quarter century, and we just feel blessed. We just
yeah.
feel honored to be able to serve.